If guests are coming and you need a perfect spring cake in 30 minutes, this is it. You can use any kind of fruit instead of strawberries. This is a very simple preparation, and we'll start with the crust. For it, we need 100 grams of margarine or butter, which will melt first. Butter doesn't need to melt completely. It's enough to have melted parts and parts that have softened. Now put 300 grams of ground biscuits into a larger bowl. Then add, optionally, about 100 grams of powdered sugar and mix it all up a bit. If you wish, you can also add nuts like hazelnuts, walnuts, and almonds. If you like, 100 grams is quite enough. Now I'll add the melted butter. And mix everything again. Pour 100 milliliters of milk and mix everything. Pour the milk slowly, depending on how moist or dry the biscuits are, and what kind of crust you want to get. If you want a firmer crust, pour only 100 milliliters, and if you want a softer one that's easy to spread, then pour all 200 milliliters of milk. I'm pouring 200 milliliters because this crust will firm up in the fridge. And the biscuits will absorb all the milk. The crust mixture looks like this in the end. Take a serving plate. Place a 24 to 26 centimeter diameter ring mold on the plate. 24 for a taller cake, 26 for a shorter one. And now put in this whole crust mixture. If this crust is too thin and you want it thicker, you can add more biscuits, but then add a little more milk. After leveling this biscuit crust, take it to the fridge until filling. Next, I'll prepare the strawberries. Prepare 500 to 600 grams of strawberries. These are smaller, homegrown, sweet as honey. Wash them, remove the stems, and chop them finely. For the filling, we need 1 packet of ready-made crempita powder. If you don't have this or don't want to use it, you can cook 120 grams of vanilla pudding in 1 liter of milk. That's 3 packets. Add 6 to 7 tablespoons of sugar and let it cool. Then, just like this powder mixture, whip it when it cools down. I'm adding 800 milliliters of milk to this mixture, exactly as it says on the package. I usually use less, but this time it needs to be exactly that. Let me show you. This is the consistency you should get, nothing thicker. Next, I'll whip 500 milliliters of whipping cream. You can use either plant-based or dairy-based cream. You cannot use whipped cream powder and substitute it for whipping cream because we need a firm mixture now. When the whipping cream is whipped, combine them. It's already firming up. See? You can just mix it a bit like this. And now I'm adding half of this whipping cream and whipping it all together. This is the same principle if you cook vanilla pudding. Whip it a bit with a mixer when it cools down, of course. And then add the whipping cream in several stages like this. There we go. Now just scrape around the sides a bit so nothing is left unmixed. Especially at the bottom. Mix it all up a bit more. This is one of the simplest fillings. I even think it's the simplest. So what if it's from a packet? We have to make something quick sometimes, especially in summer. Who wants to cook egg yolks over a double boiler in summer and toil all day? Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Now that we've mixed the filling, take 150 grams of Plazma biscuits. Wipe your hands first. Use Plazma biscuits or any other whole biscuits. And now break them inside like this. That's why we used all 800 milliliters of milk, because the biscuits will absorb some. Otherwise, I use 600 milliliters. Now for the strawberries. And I could have used a bigger bowl. Now I have to mix gently. This is what the filling looks like when mixed. And now we go to the fridge. We're not going to the fridge, we're getting the crust. Oh my goodness, what did I say? And now we'll get the crust that's in the fridge. Now I'm putting all this cream on the crust. Now just level the filling well. First, press it down a bit so there are no air pockets left. So everything fills nicely. And then you'll level it. It's a bit higher than the ring mold, but it's okay. The ring mold will hold everything nicely, and it's nicer when the cake is a bit taller. Cover the strawberries well from the top, so none are sticking out, because as it sits, they'll darken. Cover them nicely with a bit of filling and it will be great. Take a piece of paper towel. Tidy it up around the edges nicely, so it looks neat. And now that we've done this, take the cake to the fridge. Before serving, you can add some whipped cream and strawberries on top. When the cake has cooled, I've melted some milk chocolate for decoration. And here I've whipped 180 grams of whipped cream with 200 milliliters of water. With 180 grams of whipped cream, frost the whole cake. We'll see how much there is now. Now some cool chocolate.